original owners. That's number two. Number three, the debts were canceled. All debts are canceled on the Jubilee, right? It's very interesting. This was, again, it was an economic and social convention. And then finally, servants or slaves were released. Now, this is tricky for us because when we read slave, we think, I don't want to speak for you, but we often think, or at least I think of the American slave trade. The picture that I get in my mind is of slave ships and people in chains, and that's what we associate with slavery. That is not what's taking place in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, what would happen was, because they didn't have banks, and they didn't have a mint, money was a tricky thing. It was just basically services, goods and services. And so let's say that I became indebted. I borrowed some money, say from you. You were a wealthy person, and I borrowed money from you, and I couldn't pay that money off. Maybe my crops froze, or I had to help somebody else out, and now I was in a situation where I could not repay my debt to you. What I could do was voluntarily indenture myself to you for an agreed-upon period, but a period of not more than 6 years. So I could come to you and say, hey, look, I owe you whatever, the monetary equivalent of $50,000. I'll be your servant for 2 years. Now, it's voluntary in the sense that I'm indenturing myself to you, but it's involuntary in the sense that, I do owe you money and I got to pay it off, right? But if somebody was an indentured servant, which again, it's voluntary, and the Jubilee came, well, then you were free. So the Jubilee is this beautiful thing where the land goes back to its owners, A. B, the debts are canceled, and C, everybody is set free. It's just an opportunity to start over again. Isn't this a great idea? Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So check this out. One day, Peter was feeling really pious, and he went up to Jesus, and he's like, hey, Jesus, I'm feeling really pious today, and I got a question for you. Lord, if my brother sinned against me, and I forgive him, how many times should I forgive him? Up to 7 times? He's feeling like, 7 times. Which, frankly, even that's a tall order. To forgive a person 7 times in a day I don't know. I'd struggle to do that. Jesus said to him, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. Now, for us, it just sounds like Jesus is saying, oh, no, it's a bigger number. Nah, 70 times 7. Well, of course, 70 times 7 is 490. And Jesus is being very intentional here. This is the language of Jubilee. 7 times 7. But this is 7 times 7 times 10, which is like a Jubilee on steroids. Okay? This is a Jubilee on steroids. And this is why this is so significant. Check this out. Jesus here is referring to an ancient prophecy of Daniel about the Messiah. And with that, we'll take a break. Okay? Just go, whatever, do it. Go eat some food for 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll come back in and we'll pick up right here. I promise. We'll pick it right up here.